Welcome and thanks for joining me right here on the channel. The solution is you. I really do hope that you are doing well and that you are making the most of your day. If you enjoyed the content, please be sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. Now, the topic of today, 5 skills for the bills. But before I get into today's content, men, have you ever run into someone out in public and you believe that you know them, but it turns out to be something else? So for example, let's say that you are across town and you are on your way home. And so you decide to get out of your car and just go into a local grocery store just to pick up a few items before you get home. And when you go into the grocery store, you're working your way down an aisle looking for a particular item that you need. And you notice on this aisle, you see a woman that is looking for something herself from the opposite aisle or the opposite shelf. And so while you're looking for your item, you're keeping contact on this woman because you believe that this is someone that you know. This may be an ex-wife or an ex-girlfriend from maybe 10 years ago or something. And this particular woman is looking really good and she has a nice physique and she has on a short skirt and some nice heels and everything. And so you're really keeping look at this woman and you can't help but to look at the legs and everything because this is very appealing. So while you're looking at your item, you're still distracted looking at the woman and you believe you know her. So you don't want to say anything. Have you ever been in that situation where you're not quite sure of who it is that you're looking at, but this person looks very familiar, like someone you used to date? So you continue to look at the woman and what she has on and you're trying to find your item and the woman bends over while she has this skirt on and you notice that she's grabbing some Hershey's chocolate off the shelf. And so while she's bending over, you're pretending to grab something from your side of the aisle, and while you're still looking at her because you're the only two that are on the aisle. So while she's bending over, you're looking and trying to take a glimpse of everything that you can see. And it seems like it took every bit of maybe 5 or 6 seconds, but it seemed like eternity while she was bending over. And when she comes back up, you happen to look down towards the end of the aisle, and here comes her husband carrying a handful of bananas. So you have to be very careful about losing track of what's going on around you, especially when you see what appears to be a woman who is single and not really paying attention to who could be with her and how they may perceive you being in the same location as her and you are totally focused in on her. So let me go ahead and get into today's topic. Again, 5 skills for the bills. So women like to feel secure in relationships. And the reason for today's topic is because I know there are a lot of men who have a relationship that is on the rocks. You may be in a situation where your woman is unsatisfied. This could be a situation where your woman may be on the verge of leaving you. And you could be a guy who has totally given up on your relationship due to some things that have been going on for a very long time, and now you're on the dating scene and you're trying to start over and maybe get yourself on the right track with another woman. There are a lot of men out there who are just doing just enough to get by in relationships. Believe it or not, there are men who are middle aged and are just working and coming home. And this is a routine that you have. And this could go on for a number of months or even years. And then you wonder why your woman has a low tolerance for anything that you do or say. And you will be surprised that the type of relationships that are out there and how there is not a lot being poured into a relationship, which results in divorce and all sorts of other issues that present themselves and that can be very harmful to the family overall. So today I have 5 skills for the bills that can help with relationship trouble. And these are skills that you can take and implement in any situation, because at the end of the day, women want a guy that has some type of value, and our goal is to make it hard for her to leave. And that's what relationships are all about. Moving as one, your woman depending on you to get things done, and your woman being a supporter, and you two feeding off each other and encouraging one another to bring out your best. So let me start with number 5. Safety smooth talker. So it's our job as men to make sure that our household is safe at all times. So this includes talking over with your wife or your significant other about the do's and don'ts when it comes to keeping your door secure, also the windows around the house, also having the appropriate weapons available should there be an intruder, and how to use these weapons. Also, when there is important weather alerts, what to do in certain situations where there's a fire that breaks out or there's a tornado that touches down, what actions to take, where will you meet in the house, what will you grab when there's an emergency. Also, when there's a first aid situation, maybe you guys have children, and when someone gets hurt, maybe they cut their finger or maybe breaks an arm. They may ingest something that could be poisonous. There could be a situation where someone has fell and hit their head. There could also be a situation where someone has swallowed something and it has become lodged in their throat. So that's why it's important to understand first aid or in CPR, maybe go through some type of CPR training. At some facilities, they provide this for free. At the very least, you should be able to go online and maybe take you a course and or just read up on things to look for and how to respond when emergency situation happens within your household or even in public. This comes in very handy, knowing the signs of a stroke or a heart attack. You can save time and perhaps save someone's life. You'd be surprised at how someone panics when something happens and you have to call 911, And if you don't have any training or any basic knowledge of providing CPR, you have to put someone's life or perhaps even your own life in the hands of someone else who needs to respond to your home. You could just imagine the comfort and the relief of your woman knowing that you can provide CPR and give first aid when it's necessary. Also, it's important to understand human anatomy, knowing where particular organs are located. How many of you know where the stomach is located in the body, or the liver, or the intestines? How many of you know where the appendix is located, where your spleen is located? These are all important things that one needs to know in order to save valuable time when there's an emergency. Sometimes you can do a self-diagnosis and self-treatment at home when you know where particular organs are located, because then you'll know if it's serious or not, things to look for. If the eyes are yellow, what does that mean? If you're coughing up blood, what does this mean? So just having basic safety knowledge and knowledge of the human body can do a lot for you. Now, number 4, a maintenance magician. So, guys, we need to understand how to use hardware and tools. Do you know how to use a wrench? Do you know how to fix on blinds or faucets that are leaking? Maybe you have some type of leak under the sink that you need to take care of. And, maybe there's something that you can do that can fix the leak or at least hold it temporarily until you can get a professional out. The last thing that you want to do in a situation where you have a woman is always have to depend on somebody else to come to your house to get things done. If you can take care of this situation, then why not? And it could start with just going online or maybe getting you some type of do-it-yourself book or manual that you can refer to in situations. Preferably look at this information from time to time when you don't have anything to do, so that if an emergency breaks out, maybe there's some important doorknob that falls off or a lock or something that will no longer secure itself. Just by having basic knowledge, you can do the job by taking these tools: flathead screwdriver, Phillips screwdriver, a wrench. Maybe you need some nuts and bolts. Maybe you can go up to the local hardware store and get all the supplies that you need. But you'll be surprised at the number of guys that have never used a wrench, have never used any tools, have never operated a drill, or don't know anything about putting anything together, have never used a diagram to put stuff together and connect things. There are a lot of men out there who've just never touched anything. They leave it up to some repair guy, something to come over. A lot of these repairmen will rip you off, knowing that you have no knowledge of what's going on or what's involved with a repair. So they could tell you anything. And you don't want to have just any and everybody just coming over to your house every time something breaks down. You never know who you have coming over and what they're capable of. So being a maintenance magician will put a lot of comfort into your woman, to where she will have faith that anytime something goes wrong, that she can rely on you to get things done. Now, number 3, an A1 auto analyst. And you notice that I said A1 because there's a lot of guys who are out here who believe that they can properly analyze a situation when an auto fails. So when you have a car that has stopped working for whatever reason, we have guys out here who believe that they can analyze the situation immediately. So if the car won't start, it's automatically the battery. Well, just like in life, there's no particular issue that is traced back to a single thing. There's always a number of variables that could be causing a particular issue, and the only way that you will understand what it could be or what the root cause is you have to go through a process of elimination, because there could be a number of things that could present themselves the same, but it not be what you may think it is unless you go through that process of elimination. So by having the correct auto knowledge or understanding car parts, how many of you are familiar with where the alternator or what an alternator looks like? Usually where the alternator sits. How many have a knowledge of where the battery typically sits, or where the transmission typically is located? How many have an idea of where the brake fluid, what that looks like, the brake fluid reservoir versus where the oil pan is? I mean, there's just so many parts on a car, and it's very important to understand car basics and do your research in order to make your woman feel very comfortable that she could put her trust in you, that you know what you are looking for and you know what you're doing, and that there's some things that you can do to keep the car going, or get it back started, or at the very least know that you can negotiate certain parts and deals, and be able to get the best price to get her up and running again. Now, number two, a home networking honcho. So you also have to be one that is savvy in troubleshooting connectivity issues with your computer connections. There's nothing like a woman who needs to maybe fill out a job lab application, or she needs to take a look at the school schedule for next week or something. Maybe she needs to log into one of her social media accounts. And a woman needs to stay connected with her internet. And especially if you two are not living together, internet is everything. Maybe she has some schoolwork that she needs to attend to, or a report or something that she needs to turn in. And without that internet connection, she can't do it. And so it's important for us to be able to troubleshoot these issues, and to get these connections up and stay running. So whenever you're in a situation where you have your woman relying on some other guy to come over because you don't know anything about computers or hardware, or how to set it up, or to set up the home networking system with the modem and or the router with the laptop, and she's depending on some other guy now that has to come over. Maybe this is a friend from work, or this is some neighbor or something that has to come over. Well, you know what could happen. Usually, when someone comes over and they are providing a service, then your woman could be the one who is going to be courteous enough to ask him if there's something that he needs to drink, or uh, maybe offer him some food in return of him fixing whatever it is with this internet situation. And if you're not over there, or maybe your woman is on bad terms with you, and this guy has a lot of charisma, and maybe he's cracking jokes while he's in her house, this could be a situation where, in order to get something fixed, he has to come in her room or something like that. Do you really want another guy in your woman's room? So he's in there, and maybe you don't know what's going on, behind your back. She could be rubbing his shoulders or something, maybe trying to set him up as a permanent guy who can come over and take care of things should they break down again. So she could be over there rubbing his shoulders, or he could slide her the number, and maybe he's coming over at different times of the night or something like that. So that's why it's so important to have this basic knowledge of how to get things done so that your woman is not depending on some other guy. And number one of the 5 skills for the bills, laundromat lifesaver. So this is a situation where you have to be savvy with the hookup and repair of a washer or the dryer. We all know that electronics or appliances break down at any given time. And if you are not savvy on how to repair a situation such as a dryer that fails or a washer that's no longer working, then your woman or both of you can find yourselves at your local laundromat. Now, this is something you are not wanting to experience, especially if there's inclement weather. Maybe it's way too hot outside. It could be 105 degrees, or it could be in the 20s or the 30s. And you have a washer that is not working, and you have to go down to your local laundromat to get your clothes washed. So now you have to go outside in the cold. You have to drive down who knows how far. Maybe it could be 3 miles, 4 miles, or more to get to your local laundromat. And once you get in there, you have to spend maybe $20 to get your clothes washed. And while you're there, maybe you are one of those who like to leave your clothes there because you don't want to spend all your time there. So you get in your car, go back home or something, and come back, and all of your clothes are missing. You know how that goes. Or maybe you're putting your coins into the machine, and the machine malfunctions and takes all of your money. This could be a situation where you have your woman, maybe you're at work or something, and your woman has to take the clothes down to the laundromat to dry them because the dryer at home is not working and you don't know how to repair it, or maybe you don't have money to get it repaired. So she's at the laundromat trying to dry her clothes, and there's somebody there who's harassing her. So it's always good, for us as men to have basic knowledge on how to get things done and how to save time and money. But most of all, put your woman at ease by having some skills that essentially can pay the bills. A woman always likes to have a man around who has a lot of knowledge and can secure her situation, because she knows that if anything happens, an emergency situation, whether it be with her or family members, that she can go to you as a go-to, a knowledgeable person that can always get the job done. You always have the correct answers. You may not know everything, but you know where to go for these answers, or you know where to go to get things done. And women take great pride in a man who can do this. A guy who's resourceful, who can take a few items and just make things happen, regardless of your circumstances. Even if you don't have a job or you're in between jobs, you just know how to get things done with whatever you have. A woman loves a guy who's confident in himself and don't have to necessarily rely on anyone else to get it done. And if you have to rely on people, which a lot of us, at some time or another in your life, you're going to have to depend on someone else to get things done. But you don't want to make it a habit. And you definitely don't want your woman believing that you do not have the skills and that it should be up to someone else other than yourself to pay the bills. I thank you for listening to me today. Please understand that the solution is you. With that, have a great day.